Are you feeling the economic pain? Today, I want to talk about the economic pain that many people are feeling today as we move into 2025 and be very realistic about what's going on. It's a deeper conversation that few people are hitting upon, and I know a lot of people out there are feeling it. And I bet there's a lot of people out there that are starting to feel it that really just don't want to admit it or acknowledge it. And I'm starting to learn that from some private conversations I'm having. So we're going to zoom into it today. Welcome to the Future Done Right show. I'm Shawn McBride. I want to talk about the future of business. That is the theme here of the channel. But specifically today, we're going to be digging into the economic pain that seems to be all around today in America and the world, and the fact that it's not really being acknowledged by many people. And part of this is generational. We've had a lot of inflation in the U.S., even by official U.S. government statistics, which many people question. There has been a strong amount of inflation in the last 4 to 5 years here in the U.S. economy, right? Everything's gone up in price. You have to do nothing more than go to your local grocery store and buy eggs, or go to your local restaurant where a meal that you used to enjoy for 3 or 4 years ago might cost 50% more in many cases, right? Where you used to be able to get, a drink on happy hour for a couple of bucks. Now you're lucky to find a happy hour drink for $5. And this depends on the market you're in, right? I'm primarily in Florida, where prices are generally lower, right? In many markets, the types of numbers I'm talking about are untouchable, which is why I don't really want to talk about specific numbers, because it's all relative. But all relative speaking, reports are throughout the entire country that a lot of people are just not keeping up. And I've had a lot of conversations with business owners lately as we move into 2025. And there's a good deal of uncertainty. A lot of people had rocky 2024s, and for a lot of different reasons. One of the big ones was the U.S. presidential election here in the U.S., right? Businesses tend to not make major decisions during periods of uncertainty. And a presidential election, particularly this year where the candidates were so different, caused a lot of uncertainty. People just didn't know what to expect policy-wise come January of 2025. Honestly, sitting here in January 2025, and I'm a person that doesn't fit cleanly in either political party, sitting here in January 2025 before the inauguration, honestly, we don't even know what's going to happen once we get to January 20th, right? A lot is going to change. A lot is going to shift. But we have to see how all these political cards play, because there's going to be a lot of politics at play as soon as these policies start turning into potential legislation. Also hearing about a blizzard of executive actions coming. So there's going to be a lot of reversals and change in U.S. federal policy, all causing uncertainty for businesses, causing a lot of people to take their foot off the accelerator. Meanwhile, I'm seeing a number of businesses struggling, right? They are just not connecting the dots, perhaps the ways they could in prior years. Higher interest rates is not helping this. There are many companies out there that have been called, quote unquote, zombie companies. These are companies that can keep surviving, breaking even, getting by, particularly in periods of low to no interest rates. And for a long time here in the U.S. economy, we had very low interest rates. Well, that makes it easy to keep your company going as long as you can keep enough coming in. But when interest rates go up and borrowing actually costs money, the economics change, right? Sometimes now you can't afford to have all the capital tied up in a business when you actually have to pay a positive interest rate for that. You can't just keep kicking the can at 0% interest rate. It's causing a reckoning. And that may be good for the economy in the long term, right? We don't necessarily want zombie companies hanging around the long term. But the transition period, as we know here in a capitalist system, can be very, very difficult and challenging, right? We've seen periods like this, 2007, 2008, where zombie companies and overinflated mortgage holders and all of these people faced a financial reckoning. And the rest of us felt the pain. We watched the real estate values go down. Many people went upside down on mortgages. We saw difficulties throughout the entire economy because of these disruptions that were happening from somewhere else. And those types of things remain possible today. In fact, many people think that's coming. If you watch Gerald Celente, who is a very interesting character, I do like some of his economic analysis. I think he makes a lot of sense, although he has a very, very interesting style. Gerald talks about in his Trends Journal and his TV shows related there too, that the economy is going to have real difficulties because of commercial real estate. These buildings, these office buildings, are partially empty. People are not going to the office like they used to. People are having difficulty paying the rent. When small businesses can't pay the rent, then bigger businesses holding the building have problems. They can't pay the mortgage. And the banks are doing what he considers to be extend and pretend, right? To just keep these buildings going, pushing the problem down the line. And all of this points to weak fundamentals in the economy. Consumers having difficulty spending, right? Target talking about the fact that people are switching to Walmart because Target's getting too expensive, right? Big Lots going out of business, right? We see the signs that our fellow consumers are struggling. I see the signs from my business interactions, my contacts, that there is a percentage of business struggling. I just talked to one of my trusted contacts in the M&A space, and they were telling me that they had a very rocky 2024 as we're coming into early 2025 because of interest rates. Again, positive interest rates, a real cost to capital, is slowing down people acquiring businesses. Right? You don't want to go out and be on the path to acquire a business if you have to pay a high interest rate when you acquire it. Maybe you will if the numbers really line up, but you now need to get a lower price for that business because you not only have to internalize the operations, make it profitable in your business, continue to pay the employees that are going to carry forward and pay back the purchase price, but if there's a positive interest rate that's significant involved, you need to calculate in that cost of interest, right? So that means that many existing businesses, like many existing houses, are having a downward pull on their value. Just like a house might be worth less in a high interest environment because people can't finance the purchase, we can apply the same analogy to a business, right? A lot of people can't acquire a business. And so that also has long-term effects. If your business can't grow by acquisition and bring things together and reach critical mass and be competitive in the national and international marketplace, then where are we going? This is to speak nothing of the whole tariffs and changes internationally, right? That's coming as well. The economic environment will be very different in the future. Trump has promised, broad-based tariffs, including potentially tariffs on Canada and Mexico. Some of our closest and most aligned trading partners may have a very different relationship with the U.S. here in the coming weeks and months. And so for all of us, that means we got to compute this disruption and figure our path forward. So I feel like from what I know and what I'm reading and the people I'm talking to, that a lot of business owners, business leaders are feeling this pain. Either you don't feel like you can do the things you want to do in business because of the uncertainty, because there's so many variables to calculate right now, because interest rates are, high again, at least for the moment. You don't feel like you can move forward, right? You're feeling that pain, you're feeling that squeeze. And for people that are drawing a salary, that are consumers, they're watching the prices of stuff go up, and they're maybe not getting a raise fast enough to keep up, right? And government statistics show that wages are going up slightly faster than inflation the last several years. But when I talk to people, that's not how they feel. They feel like they just can't keep up. And if you look at the reality, that's probably the truth. Not to mention here in the U.S., based on statistics I pulled recently, the U.S. government, the government is about 34% of gross domestic product here in the U.S., according to some sources. Healthcare, 17%. You bring those together, that's over half the economy is in both government and healthcare. And believe me, healthcare is important, right? We all want to be healthy. We all want to live longer. We all want to treat any illnesses we might have. But, that's not really, the innovative sector of the economy, right? The innovation is helping people live longer. It's not really, it's not a new iPhone. It's not a new computer. It's not AI. It's not things that are really going to create more stuff in the long term other than helping people continue to live. And many of the people that are using healthcare are, of retirement age or advanced where they're not even really, creating new things in the economy, right? So I feel like we have these bigger and bigger sales on our economy that are holding us back. And for those of us that are paying into income tax, Social Security, property taxes, sales taxes, everywhere they bleed your money as you go through life, you're sending a little bit here, a little bit there through this government agency and that government agency to get moved around through the economy. We're watching the money go out, but yet everything we're buying is more expensive. And it starts to feel like, how do you get ahead, right? How do you really get on top of this thing other than having some major breakthrough in business? You've got to work your tail off just to keep up, right? And drop me a comment. Let me know. Do you feel like you're working your tail off to get ahead, right? The only reason I'm better off than I was 4 years ago is because of my work, right? The status quo, the system is not working better for me than it was 4 years ago. As I sit here in 2025, in my honest opinion, is the system is not doing more for me than it was in 2021. I'm carrying more on my back than I was in 2025. And I want to hear from you. Are you carrying more on your back? And I feel like many of us are feeling like that. We're frustrated, right? Our backpack is getting heavier and heavier, and the stairs are getting taller and taller. We've got more to climb. And we're keeping up. At least some of us are, right? We're doing the work, but it's exhausting and it's not fair, right? We don't deserve this. We were promised if we did the work, we would get the results, and we would then have times of leisure where we wouldn't have to worry. And now we're getting more and more where inflation and taxation and asset destruction really makes you wonder, can you let your pack down, right? I sit in some of these groups with people who are trying to retire early, and I'm just watching what's happening. I'm learning, I'm interacting with other people. And, one real question I always have is a lot of people do this math that they just take their assets and they multiply by a number like 4%. And they say, well, if I can live off 4% of my assets based on, projections going backwards, I should be able to live the rest of my life on the amount of assets I've accumulated, right? And there's a lot of people that are hitting the stop button because of the amount of assets they've accumulated. And I think that's a really risky strategy because of these taxations, the wealth stuff that's going on, the fact that we do have this weird inflation, potential stock market bubble. I think it's really risky that if you're in a tight band there to take your foot off the gas pedal. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. And if you want me to go deeper on that in another video, let me know. What I really want to hear from you, and I'd really like to get a discussion going, maybe we can learn from each other in the comments, is just, do you feel frustrated? Do you feel like you're keeping up? Do you feel like the system's working for you? I am really looking forward to reading your thoughts and ideas on that and really having a good discussion. All right, if you're getting value from this, go check out some of our other videos. Consider subscribing for the channel. Share it with your friends. But really, I do want to hear from you about your frustrations. I'll see you guys for another video soon.